Arno, are you feeling the vibe?
Man, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling that it was a day well spent. As a matter of fact, there was no spending here. It was an investment,
Okay, and
an
we're not
investment
done.
of time.
Yeah, we're not done. There comes Shane.
Oh
Shane
yeah.
is going to do his presentation. So it's a wonderful investment of time and something nice to sit back and listen to after work. Really, and we have some more entertainment at the end. So what's going to happen now is Shane is going to make his presentation. I'm not sure Dr. Blake will be able to make it because he told me this morning that he wasn't well, but he was going to get some rest and see if he can make it up to come because he really wanted to, but I haven't been able to reach him since this evening, so I don't know if he will come on, regrettably. But we're gonna hear from Shane. Shane, are you here? This is Shane Reid. Do you have his bio there, Arnav? Shane, are you there?
Yes, we actually shared it earlier on. Um,
Oh yeah, you did.
yes, just a refresher. He's an educator and immediate past president of JCI, and he's a social studies and sociology educator at Hopewell High School, an active citizen with the Junior Chamber International Jamaica, and secretary of the Hanover Parish Development Committee, and public relations team member with the Eastern Hanover constituency. And he loves to read, currently nurturing his aptitude for writing, television, and more. Also loves traveling locally and internationally, a lover of political science, both in theory and in practice. Shane Reed.
All right, sorry for being late. My apologies. I was carrying out another aspect of my life, actually visiting the project site. So I was on the road. All right, so just coming in. So apologies for being late. Thank you, Miss McNally and the entire St. Elizabeth crew, Newmarket St. Elizabeth crew for having me. All right. So the theme, everybody hearing me good?
Yes.
All right. The theme that I'll be speaking on is the importance of the voice in a changing world. All right. So I went and I did some research. So the definition of voice, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, is a wish. It is a choice or opinion or formally expressed. So it can be an opinion about the reason why the rain is falling now. All right, and you strongly express that the reason why the rain is falling now is because of afternoon condensation, and it was hot earlier, and we're experiencing rain here in Hopewell, and you have whatever, whether it's facts, whether it's science or experience over the years to back that up. So it's an opinion, all right? So it can be open or it's formal. We know this quote, or we have heard this quote that says the voice of the people is the voice of God, all right? And when it's time for election and all of those things, we politicians like to say the people have spoken, and once the people have spoken through the ballot, then God has spoken. So whatever the people say, we need to go along with it. If you are going to have a voice, especially as a young person, as a leader, you're going to have a voice. There are many voices out there. And as Jamaicans, that's one of the best things about us, or probably not the best thing about us though. We like to talk. We talk a lot, and we do a good talk. And action plan and all of those things. Jamaicans do not have any problem coming up with action plans and grand ideas. But sometimes after the voice, after the fanciful speaking or the beautiful speaking, there is no action. So while the voice is important in a changing world, I believe that one's voice must be backed up with action. So don't just be a person that get up every day and chat and pontificate. Get out there and do things. Volunteer. Get your hand dirty. So as was read earlier, excellent JCs or JCI career, and having served at the highest level in JCs, now at the parish level, working with the PDC. So if I should speak on issues from a voluntary standpoint, I know where I'm coming from. If I should speak on issues from a community standpoint or parish standpoint, I can speak on it with authority because I have experience at the community level and at the parish level. So my voice is backed up by action. So don't just be a voice. Yes, times are changing and the times will always change, but don't just comment on the changes that is happening out there. Get involved. Speak on that which you are passionate about. So be a voice on that which you are passionate. So I can speak about education, as they say, you must pronounce it, because I've been in the classroom from, I was what, 23, 24? Now I'm closer to that, going that way. So that's like 10, that's like what, 14, 15 years of my life as a classroom teacher. And I have done it diligently. So if I decide to speak on education and make up noise about education, I think I have what it takes, because I have spent time in it and I have taught in such a way that my students, appreciate what I do and love coming to my class. So they will call other classes, and when they have my classes or my class, they show up. So I guess I have something to say about education, and I can speak about that, about holding the attention of boys for subject areas that don't favor boys because you have to read and write. But at least I am able to sit down and have conversation with young men who might have other issues in a class that is known for reading and writing. So if I decide to speak on education, then it is something that I do and I have a passion for it. So speak on that which you have passion for. All right? Stick to your area of competence. I know that some of us want to be jack of all trade and master of none, but sometimes it looks tacky and look really bad when you're in a situation and you're asked to speak on something and you can't speak on it. So for example, I'm not getting political or anything like this. I saw a video with LeBron James, a well-known sport athlete, and he was asked to speak on Malcolm X. And James basically just beat around the bush. He had a Malcolm X book in his hand, and he was not able to flip to a page or flip to a passage and actually quote a passage and elaborate on it. He was not able to do that. He basically just mumble jumble some stuff. So if the thing is not your area of competence, try not to speak on it, because people might just call your bluff and decide to ask your question. All right? You will face resistance. All right? So consider the ramifications. So be a voice in the changing times. Be a voice in your parish, be a voice in your community, but there are ramifications, there is going to be a feedback. Not everybody is going to agree with you. Something happened to me a couple weeks ago, some months ago. I went on Facebook. You know, I spoke, I shared a couple of lines on the US election, my perspective, and Percy's comment, I have no problem with that. But I remember one particular comment mentioned my mother's birth canal. And I was like, how the heck does my mother's birth canal come into this? You know what? I'm sharing my perspective on something that I have been observing happening for months. And you decide to just jump under my comment and post that, and then say, oh, I know nothing about what I'm talking. No, you don't. So you're gonna get that. And if you're gonna get that, then be prepared to deal with it. All right? And I'm coming down, second to last. Your voice should provide clarity. Voice should provide that. So for example, I did respond to a couple of them. I still have one final response to do, written response to do via Facebook. When persons challenge you, you should be able to go through a litany of examples and clarify and show them that, hey, A is A, B is B, and C is C, and D is D, and have the facts to back that up. So sometimes if you're not going to be able to shed light on something, it's better not to say anything. All right? So provide clarity, or try to unmuddy the water, because sometimes the water is muddy, so you try to unmuddy. We all know what is happening in Jamaica now with that infamous video that has gone around. And sometimes when you look on the comments on Twitter, which I am on Twitter, when you look, especially on Twitter, because Twitter is somewhat of a garrison. And when you look at the, the comments on Twitter, some of the individuals, when they write, they just write for write's sake, and they do a thread. And number one, it's obvious that they don't know how the power of the prime minister in a parliamentary democracy, or in a Westminster democracy. So they don't know what the prime minister can and cannot do. And they can't differentiate between a political party and the government. But they just come on social media and post. So if you cannot provide clarity, do not post. Apologies. And the last point is not everything good for eat, good for talk. And I learned that from my great-grandmother in Manchester. All right? Sometimes it's better not to say anything. Sometimes it's just good to observe. Go on and do your thing. Do what you normally do. And just watch the sale in the market and not the noise. Pay attention. Pay attention to what is happening around you. And when the time is right, when you think you are at a position to speak or in a position to speak, you speak. And some things, you know, just say them to yourself. So you're in your bathroom or in your room, you just stand up before the mirror in your bathroom or in your room, or stand up in your kitchen when you're over the dishes, and just split yourself into three personalities: me, myself, and I. Or Shane Reid, Shane Marvin Reid. Or my alter ego, so Shane, which is the alter ego, having a conversation with Shane Reid and Shane Marvin Reid. So middle names and all of those things. And you just start the thing out rather than go and say something to somebody, or, you know, post something on Facebook. When I'm on the road with the MP, I take a back seat because it's not about me. So I don't participate in some of the conversations. And sometimes certain things come up in my head and say, all right, this is not your job. You can't say that. It's not about you. It's about him. You know what you're supposed to do, so just stay in the background and observe. And when it is time for you to speak, you speak. All right? So while we need voices that make sense, because there's a lot of chatter out there. And don't try to be just one of those that is just chattering. When you enter the marketplace, when you enter the stage, people should say, what? He has sense, man. Huh? He can chat. He know what I said. And I've always seen this individual, and I didn't know that he had all of this. It should be like that, but don't just be yappy. All right? So thank you, Ms. McMillie, and thank you to the entire St. Elizabeth, Newmarket St. Elizabeth. This is my second time with you. I don't know. Some years ago, we passed through physically, and it's so good. I was going to say wicked, but that's not good language to use here. It's fascinating and wonderful to see that if a fellow JCs from Mandeville has been able to continue this work. So thank you guys for having me. I look forward to coming back to share, probably on issues that I find important or interesting. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Kev. Thank you. Thank you so much for making this effort to come on this evening. I wouldn't forgive you. You were there when we had the other one in Newmarket before.
Exactly. So I have that leverage.
Do you have my trophy on that stand back there? I'm here looking like, where's that trophy that I give him? Where is it? I don't see it.
Oh,
it's close to it's in a precious place.
Yeah, yes, in the room, a special place, yeah. But that's from Japan. That's from Japan.
Okay, when you went to the Japan Academy?
Yeah, when I went to the Japanese Academy.
About that experience.
Yeah.
So this is my homestay family. It was a fascinating experience. I went to a JCI Academy in Japan.
For how long?
In 2019. That was 2019.
How long were you there at the academy?
A week, about 15 days, 13, 15 days, yes.
You went there for special training for junior?
Yes, for special training. So at that time, I was the executive vice president for JCI Jamaica, or formerly JCs of Jamaica, for those who are older. And as an EVP, the JCI Japan Academy is the academy for JCs to attend before you step up to.
Yeah. I wanted to go. They kind of told me I'm over 40.
Okay. Yes, you cannot be
say over 14?
Over 40.
Yeah.
In JCs, when you're over 40,
I know, I heard you.
You're only there for purposes of advice and to donate money.
Exactly.
No power. It's all the young people who make the decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us what happened when you were in Japan at this academy.
So I left here on Tuesday from Montego Bay and arrived in Japan on Thursday at 2:20. We spent some time together as overseas delegates. The Friday they took us to a school which was something else out of this world. I have never seen, this was an elementary school. I've never seen a school that quiet. When it was teaching and learning time, you could hear a pin drop. You could hear yourself breathe. Stanley, you could hear yourself talk. That was the experience before they came for lunch. They serve us lunch, so the teachers do not serve them. They serve themselves and serve each other. Then when lunch is over, it is cleaning time, and you see these primary school or elementary school students or children just running all over the school and just using the broom to clean the room, and they do it as if, it's the best thing in the world, because the Japanese have a belief in cleanliness. So the classroom has to be clean. So that was the school. And as an educator, even though I'm at the high school level, I mean, that blew my mind. But I didn't see a lot of technology in the classroom, which we are big on in Jamaica. I just saw the teacher had a tablet, then there was a television on the, this flat screen television on the wall. He chatted with them. When they were finished, they placed themselves in groups. I do not know if these groups existed before, but I noted that the teacher did not choose the groups. They automatically just broke out into their groups, did their work, sent it to the teacher, and when the teacher was finished with all of that, he projected on the.
So let me ask you this did as a teacher, you took home stuff that you learned from your observation while you were there on that trip?
Yes, I took home stuff. I actually wrote about the whole experience. I took home stuff. I don't know that I am at these are stuff that I will think about more and more and probably to see. I know that we have another joint something on education. We are waiting on, no, sorry, there's another commission on education that is chaired by an erudite sociologist. I think it is Professor Patterson, I think his name is. So I await what they have to say. Some of the stuff that I can implement, I think generally it is the passion, and just continue the passion for my students and for what I teach, because I get that from the Japanese. They're passionate about everything that they do. Whether it's JCs or whether it's drinking or working, they're just passionate.
So you got the opportunity to go to Japan to the special academy for leadership, and this was possible because you're in an organization as a volunteer.
As a volunteer, yes.
It's a professional organization, but it's volunteer. And so you learn and you grow, and that's a part of the package.
Yeah.
You manage to be to be selected to represent your country, then you could go to Japan to this academy. I didn't make it there. I have to congratulate you.
Yeah, I'm so sorry you didn't get to make it there. It's an experience of the life of a lifetime. Sushi and all.
No, if I didn't migrate to America, I would have. I left Jamaica in the height of my JCI career. When I came here, I couldn't find a chapter.
You couldn't? Yeah.
I couldn't find one that was close to me, even though there were chapters in Manhattan. But internet wasn't as it is now. So when I found them, like many years later, almost 20 years later, I hooked up with them. But it was too late. Yeah. So anybody has any more questions for Shane about the voice? We noted what you said about the voice. You have a mouth and you can speak, but be mindful of what you're saying and the conversations that you're keeping, and make sure you're an expert at some, or you have enough knowledge. That doesn't have to be an expert on something. You attempt to speak about it. That is critical. And I know us as Jamaicans, we like to run off our mouths, whether it's in a good way or a bad way. We just have to open it and say something. So that's sobering conversation to have with young people about what they say. And sometimes they don't even mean what they say. They just run off their mouth. Right, Arnold, how did you find it?
Yeah. It's not just what you say, it's also, who to listen to. Because at the end of the day, there are so many voices around. There were times when people would say, we like information controlled and whatever. Now we have a situation where just about everybody is a publisher. And so those who know are publishing, and those who don't know are publishing even more on the topics that they don't know about, those who know about the topics. And as such, as young people, especially at this stage, you have to know who to listen to and to get information, inform yourself. so that when you hear something, you can tell whether or not it makes sense. Because many times I find that many people, and not just young people, they just echo other people's thoughts, and many of the thoughts being expressed are really not coming from, you know, from persons who, I'm trying to find the nicest way to say it, but are coming from people who are just speaking from the top of their heads. So young people, yes, be careful, and know who to listen to, because in the end, what comes out of you, it won't be much different from what you took in.
Right.
And Mr. Kelly, finally nice to meet you. I grew up listening to you.
Oh boy. Man with my own all.
Only.
And you see,
That's good.
that's a very valid point. I didn't even remember that. Yes, the sources, the sources,
Hmm.
um, the sources. And for those of you who listen, because I grew up listening to Arnold Kelly, would have been Love 101. Because when Love 101 came on the scene, Love 101 became the second option to RJR for me growing up in the hills of Manchester. Understand me? So, for example,
Hmm.
when I talk about politics, and there are persons who will jump under the comments and say, "What the heck do you know about politics?" I said, "Like, what are you talking about? If you grew up in Manchester and RJR is all that you hear, then there's a program in RJR that is called Hotline. You spend all your formative years hearing Hotline with Barbara Gludan.
or Mr. Perkins.
Then you hear Monty Perkins. We didn't listen to Monty Perkins because, my family was supposedly of a certain stripe. So Monty Perkins was on the other side. But friends of the family heard Monty, listened to Monty, and would take the radio and discuss Monty. So at my age, you're going to be looking at me and telling me, you don't know about politics. Come on.
Yeah, it's the difference between people who pay attention and the ones who don't.
Exactly. I was paying attention. You weren't. You were running up and down doing some.
And it doesn't have anything to do with age.
No,
I,
it
used-
doesn't.
I know a lot about some things about politics from very, very young. You know why? And I know a lot of things that used to happen to Jamaica because I used to read the Gleaner a lot. They used to carry the Gleaner and dump them down in those outside toilets and stuff. And I used to sit down in there and read them and cut out articles out of it. Because what else were you doing? If you like to read, you read just about anything. So I used to read
Exactly. When I went to the branch library, Bombay branch library, when they send out the second-hand magazines from Mandeville and send them to the branch library, and I sit in that library and I picked my 3 books.
Yeah.
And I looked over and I see the magazine section. I went over there, Time Magazine or Newsweek, Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky. I'm 12, 13-year-old.
Right. Are you taking
I'm reading all of that.
So they don't understand that even though you're young,
Exactly.
you have done a lot of reading, so you know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's also to, if you listen a lot of radio, I don't know what radio is too much these days, but back in the days, I used to see the world through radio. It wasn't TV for us; it was radio, and so I used to listen to all the jazz, all these things. Charles Hyatt used to come on RJ, all of the programs that were discussing issues and talking about real cultural stuff and so you grew up with this knowledge where people wonder where you get it from, but it's from listening radio. Really listening, not just boom boom music that you want to dance to because you want to be upbeat, paying attention to different cultures, reading, listening.
Yeah, and let me not pretend though, being the nephew of the school principal, I had no choice, I guess.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful
Yeah.
rapping with you. And thanks, happy you were able to make it here this evening.
All right.
So you could
Thanks for
say,
having me.
you could say this is your annual event, because if you had missed it this year, say that. All right. So let's hop along. You're welcome to stay on and talk if you want to.
This event is sponsored by Ev McLilly Teas. Visit evmclillyteas.com for the finest herbal teas sourced from mainly small organic farms all over the world. To make your purchase, go to evmclilly.com, that's evmclilley.com, or WhatsApp 347-995-6556. That's 347-995-6556.